Well, hello and welcome. It's 29th of April, and opening of our offices seems far, far away. The lockdown is very much in place and doesn't seem to be showing signs of opening up. So, the need of the hour really is work from home. To work from home, you need to have electronic files and you need to know how to work with electronic files. So, I'm going to endeavor to show you how best to work with electronic files and share some of my experiences. But first things first, what is it that the WHO is telling us about this virus?
To be realistic, you're suggesting that as the United States, Europe, and we see it already, start trying to find ways to selectively ease the so-called lockdown, you appear to be suggesting that COVID-19 hasn't gone away and that there will be second, third, fourth, maybe multiple waves of infection. For how long will those waves last?
So this virus, we think, is not going to go away, period. It's just we don't have a vaccine and we don't know how long it's going to take to develop one, and we don't yet have a treatment, and we again don't know how long it's going to take for that to come along. So we've all got to learn to live with this virus, to do our business with this virus in our presence, to have social relations with this virus in our presence, and not to be continuously having to be in lockdown because of the widespread infections that can occur.
So, strong words from the WHO there. Let's now hear a little bit more from the experts as to how they view what we need to do during the COVID crisis.
I'm going to talk about what you need to do probably in your offices. Your offices are again public places where there are a lot of people coming in and going. As far as possible, if you can institute a work from home procedure where you're able to do most of your work at home, get it done at home. The less you go to a common place or an office, the better. But if you need to work from home, ensure that your communication channels are very well done and you touch base with everybody, because people tend to get isolated and depressed during times like this. So your communication channels, the manager should be responsible for communicating with all the staff if they are working from home. If you are working out of a facility, for example, as a doctor, I can't work from home. So if I need to go to my clinic, or if you have your offices, ensure that before the lockdown is lifted, you clean the place up. You ensure that spacing is done in your office. That is, the seating may be modified so that two people don't sit next to each other. You have to block off a middle chair. You need to arrange the seatings in a manner that people are distanced even if they come back to work. You also need to reorganize. You need to provide, make provisions for alcohol sanitizer to be left in all places so that people can frequently use it, or access to hand washing should also be made. Ensure that avoid doors which need to be pulled, because when you push, you can use your elbow and push the door, but pull, when you use your hand, you again contaminate your hand. So you may need to look at some infrastructure modifications if there are a lot of doors in your office. And also ensure that you have a visitors policy in your office, minimize the number of visitors. About staff coming into your office, it is recommended probably you screen the staff. You can use the thermal gun. If anybody is having fever, probably they need to be assessed before they are let into the office, because at least for the next 3-4 months, you should be a little careful. If in your office, if you have a number of employees, you need to have in place an occupational health or an occupational medical team who will advise mainly about educating staff, how they need to use hand hygiene, how they need to use probably namaste instead of shaking hands, the importance of cough etiquette, the importance of how to use the elevator. When you use the elevators, if all of you are going to use your finger, there is a risk that you may transmit infection. Similarly, if there is biometrics, you may need to change the biometrics, because when you touch that area, somebody has coughed and touched the area, there is a risk of infection. So you may need to look at alternatives. You also need to define roles and responsibilities for your various staff, so that in case, for example, some employee comes in, he has a fever, you shouldn't panic. You should know what the process is. There should be a sick bay where he can be assessed, or you can speak to a doctor, whatever. Things like this should be done. And you should also have a policy for what we call environmental disinfection. That is how you clean your chairs, your tables, how you clean your telephones, how you clean your doorknobs, how often do you clean. There should be a system for all of this. Apart from this, avoid meetings where a lot of people congregate. Whichever is possible, online virtual meeting should be done. And if you have to have meetings, ensure that you have people physically distanced so that there is no crowding of people even in a meeting hall. You also need to look at ways to stagger the crowds. So if there is a lunch break, you have a lunch break instead of 1 to 2 for everybody, you stagger it from say 11:30 to 3:30, where you send the people in batches so that they don't all sit around, 50 people together and have lunch. You have physical distancing, and a staggered lunch will prevent the accumulation of people during lunchtime. But we are looking at a future where physical distancing is going to be the norm. Transport, you cannot transport 40 people in a bus. You probably need to keep alternate chairs vacant so that they are not physically close to each other. And lastly, travel. People who travel a lot, you need to rethink this. If it can be accomplished by a video call or a telephone call, avoid the travel, because travel also increases the risk to everyone. And what I'm telling is probably for the next 3 to 6 months. So that is the second part of my talk. The third part of my talk concerns your site, on-site construction, where, as Mr. Sridharan said, there are a lot of people working. It could be anywhere from 50 people to 500 people. What do? The first step is to educate. You should tell them what this virus is, what problems it can cause, how it spreads, and how they need to protect. Because I see a lot of disgruntlement about the current lockdown situation. People don't understand the severity of what can happen. These people don't look at what is happening in the US or Italy or Spain, what deaths are happening and how everybody is suffering. To them, when you ask them to stay at home, it is very difficult and they want to go out and have some fun, especially the younger people. So you need to educate them about the severity of the problem.
So with the WHO saying this virus is not going away, period, we need to make plans to work from home. And the first thing that we'll have to do is, how do you arrange your files? So let's look at first things first. You need to scan your files. You can quite easily go on Windows 10. If you go and search for scan your files, you'll find a portion which says how you need to scan, and there's a whole process set out there. If your computer is connected to a scanner, then you first scan your files so that we have them in electronic format. This is no different now, and you'll arrange these files in a similar fashion as you arrange your physical files in stacks. This is how an electronic stack of files will look like. These are my case law sets for each year. So under different years, I've put cases. It's very easy to search. So if these were files or cases, if I want to look for PepsiCo, I type for search PepsiCo, and it opens up all files in which PepsiCo appears. Likewise, I can look for all cases of Justice Endlaw. So I go again, type Endlaw, and all cases in which Endlaw word is there will appear in the listing before you and on the computer. Now I'm going to show you one of my files on how that file is arranged and how do I work on it. So this is CML versus DLF appeal file. I open that file and you can see that these are all the volumes, volume 1, 2, 3, 4, the applications, reply to by DLF, all of that is arrayed exactly as it would be in a physical file. When I open a particular file, then I see them bookmarked. This is no different from bookmarking on a physical file. Each part that I want to look at is bookmarked. So as you can see, this is how physical files are bookmarked. The electronic bookmarking is something very similar. I then look at what particular bookmarked item I want to look at. I want to go to a particular annexure, all the paras, and I set them out. This also becomes my note on argument. I then set them out. I want to go to annexure A2, which is the agreement with DLF. I can then scan through the agreement, and within the agreement, I have sub-paras which says time is of essence. Where is that portion and that particular paragraph in the agreement? All that being bookmarked, I can quickly go to those portions which I want to refer to at a particular given point of time. Now this is a heavily marked file of mine, but what if I want to extract portions of this, say paragraph 30, and prepare a note on arguments? Then I go and select paragraph 30 as I have, you see that in blue. Because this is OCR'd, the file, I can read the file as a Word document. I go to the particular portion through my bookmarks. I go down, I look at the bookmark, I find the pages that I want to go to. I can expand the bookmark area or contract it back to according to my fit. Now to prepare a note on arguments, what I want to do is open a fresh Word document. That's my Word doc. So I split the screen into two portions. I find that very useful. I go back to the PDF document, which is OCR'd as well. I now select the portion that I want to put into my Word doc. So I want to take portions of paragraph 30, which I've selected. I copy with a right click, and as soon as I go onto my Word doc, it is reproduced there in a Word format. I can now play with this and edit this. I add the portions that I want to for my Word doc and for my note on arguments. I start the narrative in Word. I can go back to what I cut and paste, and I can put that within quotes, which is how it is stated in paragraph 30. And similarly, I then go to other portions of the affidavit. So once I've finished the quotes here, I go to other portions of the affidavit. I select other portions. I cut them and paste them here. And similarly add the narrative to finish my note on arguments. There is one more strategy that I'm going to just show you. This is in Word doc, so I can play with it and change it exactly as I would as a Word document. But there is also a possibility to take the wording as is. That's called the snapshot tool. If you see on the top, there is a snapshot, and I can take a snapshot of a portion of the PDF. Now this will come as a PDF document which can't be amended. So if there is some text which is, or there's some drawing which you want to recreate as is, now this you can see comes as a picture. So this will come in your Word document as a picture. Now another important tool is insertion of pages. So suppose I want to insert now new pages into this note on arguments, and I want to include a certain part of the original file into my note. I go select, suppose I want to put the award in after a certain portion in my PDF document. I can do so. You can see that this award PDF comes in. I can insert it before a particular page. I can insert it after a particular page. I can do it at the end of the document. I can do it at the beginning of the document. So all options are available as to where I needed to insert these 20, 30, 40 pages in a pre-existing PDF document. I can do so. Let's insert the award at the end of the document. I just select end of document, and I go to insert, and I insert it. Now I can play with this document as I could on a Word document. I want to put a header, footer. I can put a left header. I can put a center header. I can put a right header. Similarly for footers, let's assume that on the right hand side I want to put page numbers. I can select the page numbering type format, and I put, you can see the formatting. I want to do pages 1 of so and so, 1 of n. That's the format I choose. I want to put it in the, let me see where I want to put it. I can select that and I insert, and it's in the middle portion on the extreme right is where my 1 of 26, and it will paginate like this. In addition to the center header, I want to put certain descriptions that this is a reference purpose only document. I insert that into the central column, and on the extreme left column, I want to put the date. So what I do is insert the date on the extreme left column. I can again choose the format of the date. There are various formats available. You can choose one that you like, and you insert that in. So on the extreme left column, you get the date. So now you get the date, the description, and the pagination, and you do OK for the whole document, and you will see that gets inserted into the PDF document, and this becomes a running page document, a fresh PDF document, drafted and made according to our needs. I want to put this as a draft. I can put that in as a watermark. I can change the opacity of the watermark. I want to make it fairly transparent. I can also put it at an angle and then fit it to a particular page for it to look like a draft document. Now, working on these kind of PDF documents, which are OCR. Now, OCR is really optical character recognition. They read and can be used exactly like a Word document, which each character is optically recognizable by the computer. So now if I want to look for in my document, a PDF document, for example, let us say I want to look for term schedule of payments, and I want to see where all that is in a maybe 200-page document, I just type in schedule of payments on the top and then keep putting the next arrow, and it will take me to all references where there is the term schedule of payment, because the computer will read schedule of payments as a Word doc and therefore optically recognize those words as is. You can't even begin to imagine how much time you will save in browsing your documents and reaching what you were actually looking for if your documents are OCR'd in this fashion and your files are arranged in this fashion. I'm now going to show you what all you can do with editing the text on your file and what all you can do with that text exactly as you would on a physical file. You can use a pencil. If you have a touchscreen monitor, you actually get a pencil, an electronic pencil. Otherwise, you can do this with your mouse. Select the type of pencil you need. You need a thin, you need a thicker, you can change your colors. You need a blue color, you can put a blue color marking. There are various options available. You can change the thickness of the marking according to your needs. You can again go and this is again thickness. You can see you can select the thickness, and all this can go under your document. After you've selected the thickness, you can take this same lining and put it as you would underline a physical document. You can also put a call out signal somewhere. So if you want to call out in your document, you can put that against the particular paragraph that you need to look at. You can also, let me again show you the call out. This is how the call out will look like. And you can now type in whatever you like inside the call out. In addition, you also have the selection of the comments. You can change the line color of the call out, of course, any color of your choice. You can then also go, and if you look at comments, you can go and put a comment box in the document, and again you can type out whatever you like in that comment box against that document. This is a great tool to help you while you're browsing through the document. These are like your notes. Of course, if you don't like a particular marking out or your junior has done the marking out, you can use an eraser to erase out what you feel is not appropriate. This is very useful when you need to file a document which is heavily marked in the Supreme Court and you had to earlier do this by hand. You can now do this electronically. It's much quicker and much more efficient. You can also highlight text exactly as you would with a highlighter, of course, a whole lot neater. All of this, the portions, you can do a full section highlight. You can also put in comments which can be made invisible, and when you mouse over them you can read them, but otherwise they can be on the extreme right side of your text as a call out note. You can see that if you mouse over this note, when it's not visible, you can read what's written there, and who made that note is also, the author of the note is also mentioned. Now interestingly, you can then go on the extreme left column, and when you note all of what you've put, the highlighting, the call outs, the notes, all of that is under different heads set out on the left hand side. So you can go to all your pencil markings, you can go to your call outs, and you can also look for specific comments that you may have made. You can quickly go, and this is already bookmarked for you automatically by the program. So I hope these tips were useful for you. If you have any queries, feel free to email me, email@chandarlal.com. I'd be happy to respond to your queries. In the meanwhile, stay home, stay safe, and keep working.